What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're talking about the third part of creating magic. It is about crafting with care. Yes. And so if you're ready for that, then we can get the party started. Let's go. All right, in our first two videos, we looked at actually slowing down and we looked at paying attention, right? And so I hope you did the work on that and I hope you noticed, hey, what's happening with my attention? So I'd love, if you looked at a video, I'd love to just pick you up from there to say, okay, well, attention is doing something, right? It's going in a certain direction and I'm starting to notice it. We can actually notice how we can direct our attention by doing a pretty simple body scan, right? It's the most common thing we do in meditation, where we actually just notice where our attention lies and we let it go through our body. And as we let it go through our body, it picks up all kinds of things, right? It picks up all comfort, discomfort, and we get this like sense and this feeling of floatiness. Yeah, so we feel like we're a little bit floating in the room. This is where you want to notice, okay, there's tension, it's somewhere here in the room, and I can kind of move it around. I can move it wherever I like to, but also when I don't intentionally put it somewhere, it kind of goes all over the place. It goes to whatever grabs it, right? And so that's why you see often actually in social media and everywhere else, it's trying to grab your attention, right? And that's tricky because if something grabs your attention without you really wanting to go there, it can get pretty difficult sometimes to get out of it, right? And that's not a bad thing per se because, well, being drawn in means simply that, well, there's a pretty good story that's being told. Or sometimes it means that, there's your fear is being triggered and you feel like you have to pay attention here in order to survive, right? And so different levels here can actually draw your attention to it. And that's why sometimes you also see, for example, the news and many things actually online, which sometimes they do have a really fantastic function in our society. Sometimes in order to grab your attention, they're actually here to they use fear, because it is the one of the ways that actually really captures attention the fastest, because we are really trying to protect ourselves on a pretty regular basis. Yeah. And so no judgment here for anyone, but from this perspective on, where we say, okay, there's our attention, it's kind of somewhere here in the body, and we can direct it out, we can kind of bring it back in, right? We can move it around, and most of the time it does whatever it wants. This is where we want to think about, okay, well, if we use that to craft something in the world, right? To create a product or to create a relationship or to create anything really, then how do we do that, right? What if I can actually use that attention that I have, right? This inner fire and focus and light that I have, and I can put it on something, and that something just grows. What if I can do that? And many people would call this focus. They would say, oh, I want to focus on something. And that's exactly what it is, right? You're focusing your attention on something. And if you feel like you're pretty bad at that, then don't worry. This is not because you are naturally bad at that and you actually aren't bad at it. Sometimes it's just that sometimes if we don't practice something, then we don't really improve on it. Yeah. So even my muscles, when I don't actually practice or work out or anything like that, they deteriorate. And it's the same thing with attention. If we don't practice our attention and if we don't start crafting with care, then, well, it can pretty much go anywhere. And I remember that actually in my life as well, where, for many years I hosted so many events, and they were very random events. I kid you not. I hosted so many meetups and things, and I was just like, oh, let me just do it so that I don't get stuck. And I did that, and it was quite fun and fantastic. And at the same time, there's only a few times where I really crafted with care, where I really thought about, ooh, let me really care about every single thing in this event, right? And so in those events, there was one example. In 2022, for example, I was in Spain. I hosted this event in Barcelona in a castle. It was the first time I hosted an event in a castle. And well, essentially, I had created a meetup, and I invited people there, and I cared about every single thing. I crafted it with so much care. I cared about people's names so much. Oh, guys, I really, right? So about people's names, I really wanted to connect with them. That relationship mattered to me, right? I wanted to craft the agenda of those 3 hours that we had in the castle together, and I wanted to craft some games so we actually have some fun together. And so, there was a really interesting and beautiful evening that kind of developed out of this. And I would notice that, ooh, now that I craft something with care, I really care about every single thing that's in the room, about the entire experience, right? And about the entire product. And there's nothing random here. then all of a sudden it transforms a little bit, right? And people notice. They notice, there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of energy on this thing. And that energy actually is what's feeding us, right? It's actually what's connecting us. And so I would actually love to invite you to make that distinction for yourself. If you feel like, oh, only some things matter, or maybe it's just, luck or random, and from nothing matters or from just some things matter, try on glasses that tell you everything matters. What if everything mattered? Right? In the fun way. What if everything matters? Right? We don't have to take it seriously for it to actually work. But let's say everything would matter. How would that actually work? Right? How would we approach a relationship or an interaction even with somebody if it mattered? Right? If it mattered how I actually treat this random person that I meet on the street, right? If it mattered whether I smile actually at somebody, if it mattered whether I play with my pets in the morning, if it mattered if I give somebody a kiss in the morning, right? If it mattered that I look at exactly what kind of things I actually check on my phone, what kind of apps I'm leaving on my phone. You see what if everything actually matters? Then all of a sudden life can shift and you can start crafting with care your products, your business, your team, your time, right? And your attention will start to shift absolutely every little thing. And that, my friends, I'm excited to hear from you about whenever you experience it. So go ahead and try it out as an experiment and see what happens if you shift from nothing to everything. Until then, I'll see you soon. Bye.